too. I don't think you can hear that until it actually goes to the live shit. At least I'm pretty sure. I think it has to be in the live actual position to be heard.
Oh, I hear you talking.
Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor. Welcome to another live show. We've got a lot of stuff going on our end. I've got some updates. I've got some other things that I'm going to talk about today. Hopefully everybody had a good fourth quarter. It's kind of hard to say on everybody else because I've got mixed responses from many people this time around. For us, it was pretty good. We did slack off on eBay quite drastically. We took some time off. I had Ian covering part of our business while we were out. We actually went and saw some relatives who were sick, and just only to get down there to find out that our son got sick as well. So our youngest was sick 3 days right at Christmas. So we didn't have a huge, enjoyable Christmas. But, that's the breaks that goes. We're back in full swing. We've got some new things that we're going to be doing. I've got some new concept video that we're working on right this minute that's going to cover a genre as opposed to just going into specifics, and it's going to be above and beyond a bolo. It's going to give you the history and some other things along with it. This one I've been working on and off for a little while, so this one I have a lot more time and effort into than many of the other videos coming out. I've got Patreon videos coming out this week before the end of the weekend. There'll be 2 new Patreon videos for our patrons at Patreon. And as I said, I do have videos coming out every day this week as usual. Tomorrow is just a video day, so tomorrow I'll be doing a lot of video-related stuff to put out some new content. Literally, I'll be up at 6 in the morning doing videos pretty much all day long. I'm getting some other stuff situated. Today, I see we've got a little bit off on our screen. Hang on, folks. You see that on there, Ian?
I can see the thing.
Oh, it's on that side.
No, I can see the.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. Still there, yeah. Okay, well, we're going to move this around just a little.
Okay.
Gone?
Yep.
Sorry, folks. Just kind of situating things. Sometimes it's a little hectic at the last minute here when we're getting stuff ready, just because of other things going on. So, oh, that's what it is. So again, sometimes you see it a little awkward here. We're actually fixing some other things here. I've invested some money into some more equipment. We'll have a second. As soon as I get a PC upgraded, we're going to have other video feeds feeding into this show too. So you'll see Ian, maybe a couple of my kids showing some things. The wife will be on as well too. She's actually sick with bronchitis right now. As I said, my youngest son was sick too. So hopefully no one else gets it. But it's been one of those sick times here. It hasn't been a pleasant holiday, but that is what it is. We work. We did take off the time, as I said. So we were actually on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi to see our in-laws. So it was a long drive for us. It was 1,000 miles from where we're at. We just went down there, and then literally my son was sick, so we didn't get to really do much at all. It was just pretty much a wasted trip other than seeing family for a brief amount of time. So anyway, that's life as it goes. If you didn't have a good fourth quarter, or you're new to this, now's the time to start getting stuff ready for next year. It's not over yet. For us, first quarter is as good as fourth quarter. if you track this information and you track stuff like we do, you're going to see that the first week or so, 10 days of every month is usually slower after payday, after everybody gets the rent, their house payments done, and then after that it usually picks up. I don't worry about it if it's slow the first week to 10 days of any month, because I almost always make up for it later on in the month. My sales will be a lot higher, and we're literally right where I should be, with the increase over last year and increase over the year before that, with where our figures are right now. So if it's not that way for you, you're new, you don't have anything to judge it on, your best bet is to keep listing, control your inventory costs so you're not spending too much money without listing it. I've had some ideas and stuff. I'm going to throw together a little video too on trying to get your motivation and setting yourself up a schedule. It's the time right now to do this. So if you're trying to go full-time and you're not full-time, you're not going to get there without doing something drastic. It's the hours, the time frame you put in as well too that works for us. I'm usually up with the kids, 6 in the morning or so. I'm usually running and working for 12 hours plus. It's 14 hours usually, honestly. So if I'm up at 6, it's usually 8 or so before I stop doing something. I can stop, I can do whatever I want, I can cook dinner, whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of avenues we've got with all the issues going on with my son and all. We're going to be changing up some of what we do. We're going to be listing items differently than we have in the past. I'm going to do some updates on this. I'll discuss things as we change them as well too. We're going to blow out some items. We're going to divert some of the time that we were spending on some of the long tail items to actually blow them out, because we're going to be moving some of the staff and hiring another person here. He's going to start this weekend. So we're going to divert some to doing some of the models and some of the plastic work that we're doing, because we've got some other ideas. And now I have, several sources that are going to put them up on their site. I've talked about Tenacious Toys. I will be on the phone with Benjamin from Tenacious Toys tomorrow. And we've got the Kickstarter tying in with it too. So we'll be on Kickstarter the same day that we go live on the toy sites that I've talked about and I've shown. In fact, let me show you. We're still obviously producing them. So, we've got, I don't know, the green screen might put off part of the green on the plants, but I've shown the basic one. We've done some in different colors now. So I do have, several different versions of these. And this is what we're going with these models here. We've got other models that we're working on, and that's literally what we're trying to do, advance our business on. If you can expand or find different sources for material or make the material yourself, you're so much better off. I know it doesn't show up so well, the image that I just showed you, but I've got different colors of the model that we've done. And we produce quite a few of them now. We're going to be having an initial run of 50 of these listed for sale, and then we're going to be doing them from there. Kickstarter is going to be trying to get us a professional solid metal molds so we can have pulled vinyl, like Sofubu and things like that done for these. Produced here in this country by a company. I wished I had the stuff with me, but it's something I found from Tested. I watch Adam Savage's Tested a lot, so I do talk about things that I see on there. There are companies and manufacturers of toys that will produce them here in this country relatively cheap, so you wouldn't have to outsource to China, which is what most people do. So we've really looked into this extensively. We've got patents and copyrights running. We've got some investment into what we're doing. We're going to register as a full-fledged business on Amazon. We'll spend the $1,500. We'll have everything processed this year. So we're getting a lot of things going on. And again, it's part of the whole issue with my son. We've changed up our business. We want to be able to do a free-wise, have some extra time. We're still going to be cranking out the stuff on eBay. We're just going to divert some folks, some labor to doing the other aspects of it too. So we've got a big show that we're going to have our artwork in for the New York Toy Fair, which is in June. So I do have, already stuff going on with that. I've got, flyers we created. Yesterday I took hundreds and hundreds of photos of models that we do, just trying to get the best images. So I'm not the best on product models. We might actually end up even hiring somebody, which I never thought I would do. But at this point, if we can alleviate some time and some effort from our part, that's what we're going to do. So, along with that, I've touched just a little bit on retail arbitrage. It's something that, I would honestly recommend everybody looking into. drop shipping, I know, is what everybody talks about, making all this money. If you sell $1 million in drop ship merchandise, you may only be making $50,000. So, the equation isn't always there to have, a huge lump sum profit when you do that. So just keep that in mind. I get questions on it, do I drop ship and all this? And that one's been brought up quite a few times this season, only because a lot of people drop ship during the holiday season. So for us, I'm probably not going to drop ship much anymore at all. We did a little bit on just a few items this season that made us some decent money, but your risk factor is so high that I do not want to have an issue. We've got 3 accounts on eBay. So one of the accounts we've done the drop shipping on, just to alleviate the issue of it being tied to our main account. It's just one of those cautionary things that you need to look into when you're doing this. So, keep that in mind anyway. Let's see here. I had some other things here we were going to do. I've like this month here. I've got more equipment coming in for some of the artwork. We've got a vacuum table. We're going to be doing probably some do-it-yourself videos on how to make miniatures yourself, so that you can actually make some money off the things you do. I thank you. I love gamers like you. I appreciate that. Thanks to you. We have a super chat there from him. I do appreciate that. But we're going to be branching off and giving you other avenues, not just bolos and stuff. I'm going to show you how to make money off of miniatures. I'll show you how to do maybe some sculpting videos. It's not going to be a huge part because I don't think there's as many people interested in that part of it. But crafter-wise, I was dumbfounded and floored during this holiday season. I ran into somebody who I used to know years and years back. They do crafts that they sell online, and their take home at the end of the year is in the 60,000. They've only been doing it for 2 years, and they do crafts just on eBay and Etsy, and they've got another third site that they use too. So, there's just so many options out there to make money off of things that most people just don't think about. So I will touch on some other areas that you can make money on. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Everybody's not going to like all the aspects of it. But again, it's a broad range of things that you can make money on. And I've talked about people who make Christmas ornaments. They'll buy Victorian scrap and they'll make Christmas tree ornaments out of it, or they'll make decorations and things like that. People recreate even Halloween things like the paper mache cats and things like that. And I've actually made forms to recreate some of those as well too, because you can make a mold out of plaster and you can make your own actual reproductions of those vintage ones. It's really not that hard, but things like that are something that you can do, that you can mass do. You can do them locally. If you don't want to sell online these same items, you can take them to the craft shows, at the end of the year. These are all things that people make a ton of money on. I was floored when, I saw over $100,000 in sales on someone else's for just crafts. Just literally little artsy, craftsy things that in the past you would have only saw at like a church crafts or bazaar or Christmas bazaar. They're mainstream now, and I'm really surprised. I know a lot of people look at Etsy, but, I'm not huge on Etsy. We have stuff up on Etsy, of course. But Etsy's huge market. The market on eBay is growing for these, crafts and things. From what I personally see, you can go and do your own searches, do some comp searches on, just type in craft or Christmas bazaar and things along that line, and you're going to see a lot of stuff that people have created, just at their own house. Things that you can just constantly make. For those of you who can't find sources for a lot of items, and I hear that all the time, people just can't find sources for the items. Make your own items. There are so many different ways to make money these days. It's just ridiculous that you should be able to find something. Like, people are talking about fourth quarter was bad with what they're selling. Again, I constantly talk about diversifying. If you're heavy into clothing, you know that it's taken a hit this season versus last season. I keep tally on things like that. I have friends who still are heavy into clothes. So I hear a lot about what goes on. I hear what their sales are. They're listing more items and not selling as much as they were last year, with more items and more dollar overhead in it. They have started to diversify, but everything you do like this is going to take you time, and you're going to have a learning curve. So don't expect the minute you get out there and you're starting with a new item or a whole new field that you're going to be rolling it. It's going to take you a lot of time. I made a lot of mistakes, whether it be clothing when I first started, or whether it be, in general, just selling stuff. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. Starting a new field, learning antiques or collectibles, you're going to make mistakes. I'm telling you right off the bat, I made many mistakes. I've made mistakes that cost me a couple $100 at one shot. But you live, you learn, and you move on. So, that's all the small stuff from what I personally see it. At least for us it is. So, let's see here. My son-wise, just a quick update on that. He goes back in on the 10th, and we're seeing a electrophysiologist from the University of Michigan. There's very few of these in our area, so literally we were going to see somebody at the University of Michigan who actually is a professional for many years. It's an older gentleman, and we'll see what happens with that from there. We hope to have some better answers with his condition. So again, that goes into my motivation. So my biggest take here on the holiday season is, I've talked to a lot of people. You could imagine I get emails all the time. I get comments. I read every comment, every email. Motivation seems to be the biggest problem for most people, across the board. Motivation. I don't have any issues with that anymore, and I haven't for, a decade or more. Nowadays, all I have to do is think about the kids or the wife, and that's my motivation. So, if you don't have something like that or don't have a reason to do this, you've got to find something, whether it's loud music blaring in your ear or something. You need the motivation. You need that drive to take you where you want to go. And I can't stress that enough, because everybody loves buying. Everybody I talk to loves sourcing, loves finding some cool find. But most people, and I'm literally probably 75 or more % of the people that I talk to, people that leave comments on the videos, the people in my Facebook group or on Patreon, their biggest problem is getting the motivation to list those items. I've talked about our plan and what we do. We buy heavy during the summer. So I don't source as much like right now. I haven't sourced in a couple weeks anything, not even a single scrap, other than something we ran into while we were out of town. I source if we're someplace different. I bought a few records and things like that. I'm going to be buying a huge assortment of records from a picker that has passed away. His wife and stuff we're buying stuff from. So I'm going to have some major haul videos coming on. It's just going to be a bunch of boxes brought in here. It's coming from a private storage facility. I'm not going to be filming there because it's, I'm not going to worry about permission. The gentleman's wife is fairly old. I'm not going to keep her held up there while I video. She's going to let me in. We're going to take some boxes out. I'll have a couple trips to do this because she needs to clear it out by a certain deadline so she doesn't keep paying on storage facilities. I'm not going to be able to get everything this guy had just because there's so much of it. But I'm going to be showing you probably some mega records. These are hand-picked records, apparently. Things that he's had over, 10, 15, 20 years or more that's been sitting around. This gentleman had 3 huge storage units that were basically, I'm not sure the length of these, but they're like semi-trucks basically worth of storage. 3 of those full. Now, I'm not going to be able to get anywhere near even a storage locker full just because we don't have that much space here. But I'm going to take some boxes and we're going to play it by ear. We're helping somebody out at this point. So I'm going to have some of those type of videos coming up. Again, motivation videos. I'm going to be covering in the very near future do-it-yourself videos on how to, make your own items here. I may have some other folks on who do crafts and things along that line that can recommend it. We are trying to get things going. I've kind of been off track here on some of the videos only because, I had some other plans to do stuff, and with my son we've had, some deadlines and some information we had to take care of and some appointments that he's had. So, we're just playing it through by ear here, and, we're rolling into first quarter here. But anyway, if you have any questions, you can start shooting those out here. I will start looking up there in just a few minutes here. But again, we are going to be advancing our business in certain areas, so you're going to see probably some more artwork related ones. Obviously the bolos are always going to be there. I've got a list of probably 400 or 500 bolo items. One of the bolo videos coming out this week is going to be a shocker for most people. It's just such a mundane item that routinely sells. I'm not going to call out what it is, but I promise you that I'm going to get a lot of people just shocked that this type of item goes for a lot of money. This is something that anybody can find depending on your area. But we just found some, so I'm going to show out this one on the weekend here. I'll call it out. You know what it is. It's going to be the oddest item that you've probably thought, how the heck is somebody going to make money off of that? But anyway, nothing bizarre. It's something that anybody would be fine with handling. But I've got some of those video coming out. As I said, we're gearing towards more models because I can just mass produce something, do one listing, and keep doing, everything else we're doing. But this way I can keep hiring people to do certain branches of it. We got a new DBA we'll be getting this year, actually, the next month. To branch off, so we'll have a separate line. I have several DBAs. If you're not familiar with what a DBA is, it's doing business as. It's basically a secondary legal name you can use that's tied to your main business account. At least in the state here, that's how it works. So I've got one business account with, the state of Ohio, and then I've got several DBAs below that as well. You have to pay for each one. You have to do the research. So it's the basic step you can use to trademark names and things along that line. So you have to prove that it's a used name and such forth like that to get it. There's a lot of legalities when you get trademarks and, copyrights and, you're doing a lot of things like that. So, just keep that in mind. So you're going to see, as I said, some different types of content here. If you can't find items, you start making them. That's what I can tell you. There's so many different opportunities to do just so many different items. And I noticed, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had commented on junk drawer lots. Junk drawer lots are huge for many people. And I've talked about a friend of mine, half of his entire store is nothing but junk drawer lots. He does $6,000-$7,000 a month in junk drawer lots. That's more than I've ever done in my life on junk drawer lots, probably. But that's all he does, basically. He's a flea marketer. He does flea markets. He picks up massive quantities of, table scraps and table cleanups from auctions. And he does junk drawer lots. And that's literally half of this guy's sales are junk drawer lots. So, that's just one of the typical things that you can do outside the box. You're not selling anything specific. You're not tied to a specific niche. You're tied to just a generalized area of collectibles when you do that. So, I thought that was interesting when I found about that, quite some time ago. But it has been a good plus for us to do that. So when I can't get rid of something, I'll throw it in a junk drawer lot. I've got a video literally just on that. Selling What Can't Be Sold is the title of it. So if you're interested in seeing that one, that one's there too. And again, I do have a Patreon page. It is a paid page, so my subscribers in that group do pay extra to be in that group, but they sponsor this show. If you haven't seen the new outro, my entrance or exit video for, or my exit clip for my videos, I'm going to be calling out all of our Patreons in every single video. It's going to be permanently embedded into the videos from now on. So no once a week call outs. If you're sponsoring us, you're sponsoring the videos, so your name's going to be in every one. If you don't want it in there, just shout me an email through Patreon. But watch the ending for this video here. You're going to see it. So we've got separate ones for every single video going up. It's going to call out every one of our sponsors and our Patreons. Just because I think that's the right thing to do. They're who actually helps us as well as you guys viewing the video. Without people subscribing and viewing this, I wouldn't be anywhere. I wouldn't honestly be able to do this. We don't make a ton of money, and what we do make has been literally honestly reinvested in here. Because I do pay somebody 3 hours minimum just for the live show usually on a shift. So just keep that in mind, that all the money that we get goes right back into it. You can see it's not a ton of money, so I'm not making any profits here at this point. It's just a matter of investing into the show. Obviously at some point it'd be nice to make a profit, but there's more to this than that. This is my bread and butter. I love talking about what I do, so and I really honestly enjoy this. As a regional and a general manager, I used to help everybody under me, so this is just kind of plays into what I do. I know some of my folks who are in Patreon are on right now. Basically, I have a basic, it's like a $1.99 one, I think $4.99, and then if you're the $9.99 one's the one that you get everything basically, other than a phone consultation. But the $9.99 one has all kinds of other content, and I'm going to be posting probably at least a video, maybe even 2 every week or so from this point going forward. So we'll have some content there. I answer specific questions in the Patreon group very specifically. I go into detail on them. I do other things like insider information that I don't just broadcast out across on YouTube. But again, it's not required for anybody to join that. You're still going to get the gist of the content here. So anyway, I'm not a big one on promoting myself, but I do try to start promoting us a little bit. I'd like to, obviously get a broader reach. Well, thank you, Lex. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. I talked to Lex on another channel here briefly. I do pop on some other channels. The Bearded Picker is one that I've popped on to. If you haven't seen his, he's got some interesting stuff. He does a lot of retail arbitrage, which I don't do. He covers kind of some areas that I don't talk about as much. He does some interesting stuff. He had a real nice viral video not too long ago for the Monopoly Millennial Edition, and that's literally the way I heard about it. But by the time I found out, it was already gone from my local area. But I did talk about retail arbitrage. Just a quick shout out to that. What we were finding and we made quite a bit of money on was Lego Elves. It's the Elves cereal Legos. They were at TJ Maxx. They were at Ross's had them, and then Burlington Coat Factory. And we went to a bunch of different stores, and I had close to 100 of those. So we made a couple grand just off of those and quick flips. We could buy them for $27.50, and I was selling them for $66 to $68 range on average with the buy box on those. So, just FYI, you get ungated and you can have that aspect of it too. Don't buy anything unless you know you're ungated though. So just FYI. So anyway, there are other channels out here. I'm not the know-all for every single item. If you ask me on most of the collectibles and the stuff I talk about, I'm very knowledgeable. I get hate mail sometimes and people saying I don't know what I'm talking about, but I would pretty much challenge you on most items. I might mix up a term or something, but for the most part, I know my stuff. That's all we do. We're full-time, so anyway. Let's go and see if we got any questions yet. I'm kind of down far into it already. So if you do have any questions, pop them up. Nancy, I did pop that in here. Nancy had a question on some rolled stuff. I got a video coming out it's going to be on the Patreon though, as I said, but Patreon, I've got one touching on photoing some of the rolled items and stuff like that. We make pretty much our boxes for everything. I don't buy rolled tubes or tubes for rolled material. I make triangles out of the boxes that we already currently buy, and those are always sufficient to do it. They're actually almost crush proof if you've done it correctly. They're much sturdier than sending out a mailing tube in my personal experience. So I don't usually use mailing tubes for anything. The question answered there as to that. Let's go on here. Happy New Year, yes, to everybody. If you're new if you're new to eBay, this is your first season, I honestly recommend everybody keeping track of your sales, basically either on a weekly, daily, or some form of basis, so you can judge what it's going to be like heading into this fourth quarter here. Let's say you list twice as much as you had this year. You can judge on what your sales should be based on that. I've got videos talking about how to do projections. I do projections for everything. Whatever I'm talking about, even projections on some of my videos, I actually do by say the content matter, the title, and things like that. I do that for my eBay content, my eBay listings, the whole works. Everything I do projections for. So I would honestly recommend you doing projections. So if it's slow one day, you can see if it was that way last year. You might be caught off guard by a holiday or we've got Martin Luther King's birthday coming up here soon. It's a holiday, so keep track on all these holidays because some of those days are going to affect your sales. And too many people aren't aware when these happen. Like right now, I can tell you that most people are probably just a little down, depending on what you sell. Some people may be way down if you're doing news, returned items, video games, clothing, shoes, stuff like that's down now. Collectibles, though, I still sell pretty much the same amount straight through. Sometimes, as I said, I have a little dip in the beginning of the month. It usually picks up very, drastically after the 10th of the month. And then my sales are right in line and I catch up for the difference which I lost. Selling on many platforms is going to help you with a lot of that too. So if you're not on more than, if you're just on eBay, you're limiting yourself. The market's all over the place now. It covers so many different avenues, so many different sites. You really have to broadcast yourself out to many platforms to recoup the money that you're losing from, shift of market. Not everything keeps going the way it was. If you haven't paid any attention to Apple, their iPhone sales are way down. They're not going to have a loss, but they're way down. Their projections with what they were supposed to sell. The China market's, taking a dive because of cheaper competition with the same basic qualities. So everything's not going to stay the way it is. That's why I say diversify, and that's why we're switching up our model a little bit here. We're going to be pushing out things. Certain items are going to be long tail as they always have been. Our bread and butter is going to always be long tail. But other items we're going to start bulking more so we can save some of that time in listing we'll sacrifice a few dollars in long tail items, and we'll be able to divert that to running labor in other areas, for more videos, for more content, for more models, for more things that we can make right here without having to source. So, obviously sourcing's not going to, be as easy for everybody. So you've got to have other venues. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you might think about creating your own items. You might think about doing miniatures or models or crafts or making your own cards or whatever the case may be. There's so many different things you can do. So, hopefully that's some thought in your mind here. Without motivation, it just kills it for most people, though. You got to be able to list. So, as I've said, and I talk about quite often, we buy during the summer. I list extensively right now is our goals. So, I don't care if we run into summer months and just have a ton, because my sales aren't going to drop if I'm listing a ton of stuff straight on out. That's the way this works. And then come fourth quarter, you've got another 10,000 items up by the end of the year. And then your fourth quarter is going to be even higher than it was this past quarter. Again, I keep track of all this. So everybody should be doing that. Everybody should know their numbers. Everybody should know where they stand. Everybody should have a secondary, a third avenue of sales, whether that means you sell now on Amazon or you Etsy or Poshmark or any of the other places. Ruby Lane's now advertising on eBay, believe it or not. So, which was shocking the other day. If you look at the bottom of ended listings, sometimes you're going to see Ruby Lane on there, even on active listings. For those of you who don't know, Ruby Lane is still good, strong. It's an antique site. They've been around for a long time. Maybe a decade, I'm guessing. They're still there. So, there's many avenues to make money on. Don't tie yourself just to eBay. I know I talk a lot about eBay because eBay is our bread and butter, but we do sell all over the place. I don't stick all my eggs in one basket. That's why the models, we're putting stuff on toy sites. We're putting stuff on sci-fi related sites and fantasy pages and all this other things we do. I do mock-ups of, movie props and things like that too. We do costuming occasionally. Whatever you can do, whether it even be basically doing illustrations or drawings or computer work or whatever you can do. Everybody should have a sideline, t-shirt designs, merch by Amazon. I can just keep going on. There's just so many things you can do. So anyway, let's go back to the questions here. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year to everyone as well. Yeah, Nancy, go over. I do believe I show how to make the triangle into custom shipping, I think is the title. If you're in my Patreon group, I do have a list, and that's actually going to be updated here. Beginning of next week, there'll be a new list with all of my video content. I've got a file up on my Patreon page that you can just download, and you can search literally what's in every video I have. So if you're looking for something specific, or you can just scan through all 360 or so videos I have up, and you can see any specific topic. If you're looking for postcards, I've got headers inside the forums, so you can just literally type in postcard, and it'll show all my videos that cover on postcards. I think the file is like 90 pages or something like that, because I have literally the little image of the video itself. It's got a title and it's got a link to that actual video. So, and again, as I said, you can literally do find and search and search for anything in my videos that way. I've had that question brought up. I was going to post something out here, but I feel it's probably a better plus for my Patreons to have that ability. To be able to search it. And all the content's here on YouTube, so if there's something you're looking for, it's out there. It might just take you a little while to find. Anyway, let's go back here again. Let's see. Welcome from Washington, a perfect buy. I'm not as prone on calling out names all the time. I'm not trying to offend anybody at all. I run long-winded, and I do end up missing some people's questions, so I probably won't call out unless you're specifically calling something out. Again, I appreciate everybody on here. I'm just trying to be able to get to as many questions as I can, because time's always a factor here. I ran a Sunday live, and I ran like 2.5 hours or something, and I still didn't answer all the questions. So, it just depends. I try to get as many questions here, so we're going to try for content a little bit on this. What is the name, Penny Day? What is the name of the scanner you use to scan postcards? Ian, can you run over there and tell me the name of that real quick? Hang on, Ian's going to go over and check it. I don't remember off heart, but Popeye's Postcards is the one I found that from. He's got a video on the scanner. I've put a video together, which I'll probably show you too. It's probably the best scanner I found. I went through 6 or 7 scanners. I gave up on scanners. I tried a duplex one years ago. This is a duplex scanner. New, they're like $600 or $700.
Epson DS510.
It's an Epson DS510 is what we use. There's 2 different versions of that. They sell it at Office Depot if you're looking for it. You can get a used one of it. It's going to be in another video here in the next week or so. So you'll get a good example of what it is. I would not recommend you going out and spending a couple $100s on something like that when you're new, unless you're sure it's going fine. You've got, postcards up the yin yang coming in. You've got a good grasp on it, and you're making a profit on it. Don't waste your time or money on something until you know you actually need it. I've got flatbed scanners. I've got all kinds of sheet feds and stuff. So, I don't mind investing in something that I'm going to use. I could scan hundreds. I could have a scanner going all day long for a couple of weeks straight without having an issue of finding stuff to feed into it. So, don't waste your money unless you're into this heavy. A standard photo is perfectly fine for the majority of people as long as it's lit fine. I've got a tabletop mount that we do because everything's not going to fit through there. All the delicate little things, the small items, small thin paper items I wouldn't put through there. It can damage postcards. It can damage things that you stick in that print or into the scanner. So just keep that in mind too. So it doesn't scan thick ones. It doesn't scan thick embossed items and things either. So, and sometimes it'll fold a corner over on something. I manually feed him one by one. Popeye's Postcards, he's got a decent channel. It's just postcards basically, which I love. So may not be your thing, but I don't mind looking at just postcards. He just sets a stack on there and lets it do on its own. I haven't been lucky enough for it to do that. So, that's what we use. I'll probably see about putting a link to it maybe once this video is uploaded completely at the end of the show. Just for those of you who are interested. Again, I wouldn't recommend you buying anything extra at all until you're set into this. You've got a good steady income coming in from it. Do it bare bones. Do it cheap. Cheap is what rules out on this. As long as the quality's there and you can see it fine, I don't worry about, buying cheap stuff if I have to. Don't get it unless you need it. Cherry picker. Yeah, I try to pick different background here. Who knows if we'll even get snow this year. We only had just a sparse scattering of snow. It was really kind of just nothing this year. It was kind of disappointing in all honesty so far. Welcome everybody else. Carl, he was the one who asked the junk drawer lots question. It can work both ways. If you've got a good display, you've done enough of them to kind of get the gist on what to put up. Your main image the main image that's actually shown for your gallery image, you want that to just show a ton of stuff close enough where you can see some high dollar stuff in that image. Whether you paid $1 for it or not, the display, how you show it, is key to selling these things. The main image has to show something that's going to draw a bunch of different people in. So your main image should have multiple different types of items in it. You should limit the title so you're not giving away too much, so people will have to actually click into your listing to see the details. That's key to doing this, and I can pretty much promise you that's the ones who sell it better. You don't want, if there's coins in it, you can just add a coins or something along that line as a keyword, but I wouldn't list too much details in it anywhere. Let them look at it themselves. Don't judge, don't state it's got something very specific in it, even if it may have. Leave it to them to look at it. Let them look at it themselves. Window shopping is all they're doing if you're showing them and giving them too much information with your title. It works both ways. Some people just do auctions with junk drawer lots, and some people just do bins. Some people mix it up. I've had just as much luck doing a bin as I have with a auction. Auction, sometimes you won't sell it for as much because let's say you have $50 into a junk drawer lot. That's your investment into the items. You got to price it at least $50 plus to cover your cost of listing and your final value fees on it. So you're going to have to list it higher to start with. Best philosophy in my book is to put a couple high dollar items in that you don't have much into to raise the overall price of what the lot is. A lot of people will look up the stuff that's in these junk drawer lots and decide if it's worth it. That's what the smart person's going to do. So if you got something in there that you paid almost nothing for, that you could sell on its own, that would get you a decent amount, put one of those items in your junk drawer lot and do it as a bin with a high price on it, and then take what you want for it. if I do it that way, I sacrifice a higher dollar item that goes into that junk drawer lot. That can do a good play on it when you're doing it that way. Otherwise, use small, cheap items, do table cleanup scraps from a local live auction or something like that, or the items you couldn't sell. Have a low investment into the lot to start with. Get yourself 50 or 60 good items in that lot that you may have 15 or 20 bucks into. Put a $29.99 opening bid, which will cover your costs on the items and your cost and all your fees. They pay for shipping. So if nothing else, you're going to get your money back, all the fees, and make $1 or $2. I know it may not sound like much, but these are items that you're trying to get rid of. With good luck on your case, with the right photos and the right description, limiting the information, you'll get some more views on it, and you might sell it for twice that, so you'll get a good return on your investment. Everyone's not going to sell for a ton of money, but the majority of everyone I sell, 85%, I'm guessing, sells for a reasonable amount where I make a profit on items I couldn't make a profit on either way, just because they weren't worth selling on their own. So, hopefully that gives you a little touch on that. They work for us. They work for people that I know, and they work very successfully. $6,000 or $7,000 a month in junk drawer lots is a pretty good amount for somebody that I know personally, that I've seen him do. I won't call out any names, but if you look at junk drawer lots, you're going to see one person who's got a ton of them up, and that's there might be more than just him, but he's got a lot up, and he does them all the time. Every week he's got some up that sell in the hundreds of dollars. So you can check through and you can see people that do that. There's people that's their bread and butter is just junk drawer lots. But most of those people, from my personal experience, do real life flea markets, or they'll do auctions. They'll actually be an auctioneer or something. They'll have massive quantity of this stuff coming in. I get enough to do that, but we long tail haul a lot of items because I don't worry if it sells immediately because we've got quantity. So if you don't have quantity, you can't play the same games that we do. It's just not physically possible. Plus, we have quantity, which means that we have several stores, which lowers our cost down. So if you don't have a 5-cent listing fee, you may not want to play the long tail haul game for thousands of items until you can get up to a store level where you're an anchor store and you're getting 5 cents or less. I got a breakdown in my Patreon store or Patreon page as well on just long tail, and I literally it breaks it down dollar for dollar how it works. And this is a perfect example. For those of you who've seen the video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me pop back over here to some more questions. Yeah, thanks, Carl, on that. Progress-wise, we're rolling full steam. We want to be toy makers as well as what we do now. I want two, 3 businesses, whatever it takes to do it. Having multiple employees, having a building at one time if we have to. That's all on plans. Nothing is off the table doing what we do or what you're doing. Whatever everybody's doing, don't take anything off the table. The bottom line is you want to make money. It doesn't matter what it takes to get that money. As long as it's morally just and it's legal, I'm not worried about it at all. Follow the law. If you're doing a separate business, get yourself a DBA, get yourself a separate bank account, make sure you have an EIN number, get yourself a business owner's policy if you're into this heavy like we are. Anybody running full-time, working for yourself needs a business owner's policy. I promise you that is a key essential for anybody running a full-time business on their own. Every company on this planet that runs a business has insurance to cover losses in their industry, whatever it is, whether it's a restaurant, a retail establishment, a movie theater, a manufacturing facility. Everybody has a policy to cover them insurance-wise. Many states, it's the law. So I've got everything that everybody else does. We pay workman's comp. I've got accountants. Everything that any business does is what we have. We're running into the S Corp as well, just like I've talked about. Look into this. One big plus for everybody is the public library. For most anything that you plan on doing, the library is a free source for tracking down information on starting a business, running stuff, whatever you can do. The public library I use constantly. I get books in to do some of the stuff I do. I get books in on crafts. I got one here today. Books on sculpting, books on toy making, books on, price guides. All of that can come from the library for free. So, that's a big call out to the Toledo Public Library for us. Get yourself a library card. Don't buy everything that you think you need. Take some out from the library. If you need it, then buy it after that point. But again, save costs at all. Whatever you can do, save costs. That's the key here. Thank you, Kathy. Let's see, BCL. Hello, I've been watching for a while. I have been a seller on eBay since 2012. Tried a few other venues. I'm still trying to learn. I still learn stuff constantly. I just talked about toys for us is something completely new. Um, me and the wife had come up with an idea a long time ago. We had several, honestly, but one of our ideas, and I'm not going to call it out because we've had some chat with the person who actually ended up doing it, but we come up with some ideas. We didn't do anything with it 6, 7 years ago. We thought, who's going to want what we were thinking? Somebody else came up with that same idea 2 or 3 years later and is making a ton of money, and I do mean enough to have changed their entire lives for the rest of their lives. We didn't do it. So these days, I'm going to invest the money. I'm not going to let anything hold me back. If we go bankrupt doing something new, we go bankrupt doing something new. But I'm throwing all my cards out on the table. We're going to do whatever it takes. YouTube was a big nerve-wracking thing for me to jump up on YouTube. It took me a year to decide to come up and do this, to come up on YouTube. It literally. But it fills a gap when I used to do the meetings every single week for 20 plus years of my life. So it's just a continuation. So everything's a nerve-wracking step. Going full-time in eBay and not having to report to a job or having a set schedule is a real nerve-wracking experience for anybody, including myself. You never know if you're going to be able to feed your kids. You never know, what's going to come around the corner. Accidents, injuries, whatever the case may be. Everything's a leap of faith, hoping that you know what you're doing enough to make some money at it and be successful. So toys are where we're heading. Obviously, as I keep saying, I'm not changing anything. I'm going to be just adding different content to here. You may see 2 videos up the same day, one on toys and one covering the regular content. But I'm doing videos start to finish on DIY. I'm going to show you how to mold, cast, make copies of your own artwork. I'm going to be discussing hiring printers in the near future, including probably getting a printer to come on that I work with. For those of you who are new, I do produce my own, and we have custom printed postcards and artwork that we do. Some ACEO cards I do as well, too, if you're not familiar with those. You can look up ACEO. Those are big sellers for a lot of people. Anybody can do that as well, too. But we have printers that are going to print some cards. We're going to have professional hanging cards for some action figures that we're working on right now. Something out of the ordinary. We're kind of piggybacking off on some of what's going on with the retro gaming and retro toys. So, all this kind of stuff is stuff that I'm going to be exploring and showing you. We may end up doing stuff like this, and at the end of the day, I may not make any money. This is something new, but I'm going to lay all my cards out on the table. You're going to see it. I'm going to give you some dollar amounts when we do this. It's going to be probably maybe even a different line of videos. Again, I'm not going to cut away content we're doing already. I may put some of that in Patreon if I have more call for it there. But I'm going to give you the basics from start to finish on another line of our business, and you can decide if it's something you want to do. You can decide if it's something that you think you can make money on. But you'll see it from me actually doing it. I'm not just giving you feeding you some line and talking about something that we're not going to be doing. I'm sinking our some funds into this. I'm throwing out all the money onto the table, playing all my cards at this point, especially with my drive with my son and all the issues going on. I'm not going to take a chance and not do something again. If I would have started 20 years ago full-time on eBay, I would probably be a millionaire right now. And I'm not trying to brag or flaunt. Most people who started eBay 20 years ago and did it full-time right now would probably be a millionaire. Back in the day, things went for so much more. You had such cheaper advertising. There was only one source to sell your antiques, basically, which was eBay. You win some and you lose some, but I'm never again going to not throw my cards out on the table. I'm trying it. We've got some money sunk in. I've got several $1,000s into equipment, casting stuff. I've got, vacuum chambers. I've got degassing tanks, air compressors. You name it, we have it. We've got, as I said, vacuum forming tables coming in. I've got polystyrene sheets. We're just going to be branching out in other areas. So I'm not going to be afraid to do that anymore. I'm not going to worry about consequences. We've got enough coming in where we can sink money back into our business. We don't keep most of the money that we make. Most of it, the vast majority of everything I make goes back into my business. I don't buy fancy cars. I don't buy new cars. I don't buy a ton of clothing. Obviously, if the kids need something, we go out and get that. But we don't sink money into stuff like that. I sink it into where I live and what I do. I don't care if, I have the newest vehicle. I would never sink $1,000 into an iPhone. Nothing wrong if that's your case. Everybody has something they like. I sink a lot of money into things that most people think stupid and crazy. I still mess with toys, so a lot of people think that's crazy for someone my age, but I've always liked it. I don't age has no factor on what I do. I either have the drive for it or I don't, and I'm fine with making toys. I would be happy doing that as a living or even doing that for somebody else, but there's so many options and opportunities out there. I just want everybody to know that. I want you to see some of this stuff. So again, I'm going to branch out on this channel to many different avenues while keeping the same content as well. There's going to be new content, more content. Let's go down here. Yeah, junk drawer lots are good. What do I use to track my inventory? A perfect buy. It depends on how you're doing it. I'm not going to give out specifics, any recommendations on it for the most part. I have addressed it in some videos. I've got a Patreon video that addresses, and I've got several here on YouTube. There's many philosophies with doing your inventory. You can do every single item. Some people can do it as a bulk purchase. So let's say I spend $100 on some items. I'm just going to record $100 on a tracking sheet. I do Excel everything. I do not load up any of my content financially wise anywhere onto the web, into a cloud network or anything like that. I do it all in-house. Nobody can fully guarantee the safety of your stuff, so I don't personally do that. I've been honestly thinking about not using the Facebook group. I know I have it. I haven't been able to do as much on it, but they got hack issues again. They released so much information for millions of subscribers for the third or fourth time in less than a year. I'm just kind of getting fed up with the changes. When I look at my phone on Facebook, everything's a circle now in every single photo. I know they say you can download this or do that. It's just gotten to be a nightmare. They're not listening to the people who actually use Facebook. They might go by way of MySpace at one day, which, believe it or not, MySpace still makes money for people. They still have 15 million unique views a week or even a day maybe. I'm not really sure on the totals at this point, but they're still a viable platform, believe it or not. But anyway, for your accounting, for your inventory, my best honest recommendation is to get a CPA. Hire yourself a CPA. Sit down and tell him how you run your business, what you're planning on doing. The number one rule of thumb with the federal government for running your business and keeping track of inventory and your costs is that you use the same method every time. You're not switching every year. The only way to be standard and straight is to have the same basic model every single year. I've done it the same way since we've done eBay. And again, it depends on your model. My model has different things in it. I have labor. Every day of the week, there's labor involved in it. Some items and some things we do have a ton of labor in it, some don't. So I can't do inventory standard on every item like most people normally could who don't have employees and things like that. So you're going to have to figure it out for yourself and talk to an accountant. I'm not a legal expert in any way, shape, or form. I do have accountants, one for our labor that does payroll, and then one for the end of the year that does my taxes. So again, I honestly recommend everybody looking into it on their own and talking to somebody. Most good CPAs will give you a first consultation for free. So honestly, use that service. Don't be afraid to sit down there and talk with somebody and ask the questions. I can't give you that answers for your specific company. Anybody who's telling you should do it this way or that way, they shouldn't be telling you that. They are not legal professionals. I am not a legal professional. I wish I could give you the answer, this is the best way, but what works for me, chances are, would not be good for the average person doing this. We do things way different than most people. I buy in huge, massive bulks. Sometimes 5,000 or 10,000 of an item shows up here in one specific time. Hundreds of items are a specific haul. Every haul I get is usually hundreds of items. We have to do things differently than many people would. So, I don't want to be specific on that. I'm not trying to evade the question, but there's too much involved in it. Know the law, know what's right, know what's going to keep you yourself, your specific business out of trouble with the CPA. I can't stress that enough. If you're not to that level now, just do a basic inventory item by item on an Excel spreadsheet for what you get and just leave it at that. That would be my best recommendation. Do it simple, keep it simple. Let's see here. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, Carl makes what he sells too, which I've talked to more and more people. The options are out there across the board. Crazy items, non-crazy items. the more you can make, the more, I mean, you don't have to source. Why would you not want to try something? You don't have to make a ton of things. Start with 1 or 2 items that you can make that will sell for you routinely. So you can add one every couple months. If you get one down pat, something, you're making a model, you're making a tchotchke. I know somebody who makes wind chimes. They make a lot of money making wind chimes. They can sell them locally as well, so they can get them in gift shops in their local area. So not only do they set them up at craft shows, church bazaars, Christmas bazaars, but they have local businesses that have them in their store. We have glass blowers around here that make, glass. They'll sell them online. They'll sell them at, again, Christmas bazaars, Christmas festivals, town events, wherever they can sell them as well to supplement what they can sell online. So, again, there's just so many things you can make. It's just wreaths, whatever you can think of. I know people who make mechanical things and devices, and I have a son that makes flashlights and all kinds of things like that. So, anyway. Let's slide down here. Good evening, everybody. Again, I'm not going to call out every single person here just to save a little bit of time. Welcome from Kansas. And my feed just went dead, so hang on just a second. Where was Kansas at? Yeah, I think I'm way off on where we're at to keep up with everybody. Let me pop back down here. I use Nikon, the truth, I use Nikon D5300 for every individual item that does not get scanned. It's a Nikon D5300. There is a link below in all of my videos for that specific camera. I use it even for my videos. I shoot videos with it. This is what I'm shooting this one on is a Brio, which I'm still having issues with. I debated having it serviced or looked at anyway, but I do use the Nikon D5300. It's a good entry-level camera. It's a DSLR, digital single lens reflect. It's the bomb for most things. Outside photos are just incredibly sharp. Most of what we do is taken with inside lighting, so anyway. There's Kansas, welcome. Let's see, Tomate auctions. Look through my videos and type in selling what can't be sold and watch that video. That one's got a lot of views on it. I've had a lot of comments on that one. And mostly, probably 60% of the comments that I've personally got on that video are people that did the same thing and were able to make, good money on it. It just depends. You have to get the knack for what goes into a junk drawer lot. But just do a comp search on junk drawer lot as well. And you're going to see some going for, there's even some that go into the thousands range. Obviously, they have a ton more money into it, but junk drawer lots work across the board. They have worked for us since day one. Even on clothing and shoes, you can do junk drawer lots as long as they're all the same size. Well, thank you, Disney Family 515. Thanks, Lex. The Junk and Data Girl, welcome. I have seen she's got a channel. She does a lot of stuff that she makes out herself. Yeah, Carl, you're going to have to pick up some to find some. Postcards, though, I sell postcards every single day of the week. I sell postcards. Today I sold like 15 or 16 just today. Just postcards. Nothing but postcards. We sold a lot of other stuff, but that's a typical day with postcards. I might do some videos on packing and just talk about some of the items when we're doing it too. I had some questions on showing some more packing videos. I have been putting a book together, but with time-wise, I only can do, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. I will have a packer's guide coming out soon, too, which will probably just be thrown up on as an ebook. I might do it as a merch thing on Amazon. I'm not sure yet. Let's see here. I have not tried Let Go. I've heard good things, but I'm not big on any of the apps for phones. I'm not a phone person at all. I have a modern phone, up to date with everything, but I'm just not a big phone person. I'm a laptop or desktop person, so if it's on an app or something and it's something different like that, I just don't mess with it. We're on 9 avenues or venues right this minute. Counting the toy one, I'm counting because we are officially signed up. I've already got most of the stuff there. So, that's where most of my time spent is advancing those platforms. I may add more platforms in as time goes by, but at this point I'm not even looking to get into anything new. The toys are taking up, 15-20% of my time on some weeks. But once they're rolling and all the molds are, shot and all that kind of stuff, I don't have to really worry about anything. It just kind of goes off on its own, and I can have employees do it, and then I can start another project. Anyway, nothing wrong with Let Go from what I've personally seen. Geezer Man, today I found some of the clear mini lights at 70% off at Farm Store. Beard Picker clued us in to them. He sells them year-round at Amazon. The clear lights, yeah, they will sell. I see people put those in for like display cases. I'll one-up you on that one here. At Burlington Coat Factory, they had, and I think TG Maxx had them too, it's a 10-foot LED strip light that you can cut to alter to your size. They were discounted to $2.99, and they were selling on Amazon the other day for $17.99. So there aren't any for me to source here anymore, so that is an item that may be in your area. It's along the same lines as those 75-cent. Hey, Ian, can you plug me in over there? But it's along the same lines as those. They're strip lighting, LED strip lighting. It's the same basic principle. They've got them in many other places. In a small box about the size of a double CD. We made a pretty good penny on those, honestly. I sold every one for the season, and I actually bought a couple for my kids. So, but that's another item that we looked for retail arbitrage-wise. You can pick up those too. So. But that is a good call, Geezer Man. I did see that as well too. Let me see here. Oh, question. Know anything about air gauge temperature gauges? If you're talking about like kitchen stuff, we've messed with those too. I used to buy out like restaurants and stuff. I worked for restaurants for a long time, so we do mess with those if that's what you're talking about. My son has a kiln, so we've bought, and I do turn around and resell some of the high temperature gauges that go up to like 3,000 degrees. Those sell too. It just depends on what you've got, I guess you could say. Peddling Profits, have I made 2019 goals for my business? Yes, I have. Goal-wise, the models are my number one priority at this minute. Things that I can mass produce and only have one listing on eBay is the best bet for us. And again, I've started out, we've done private branding in the past, and I know people talk about how much you can make. Back in the day, 5 or 6 years ago, private branding was the bomb. We've been lucky enough not to lose on private branding. We made a little money, but not enough to make it worth my while. This is a step above private branding. We're literally, our biggest goal is to get some major contracts signed. I'm betting, a big chunk of change and money invested into producing enough of these toys that we're doing for this show. So my biggest goal, among other things, is to get these to this toy show in New York City in June. It's a very big show, and then we're going to follow that up with Dragon Con, hopefully. And then the sci-fi conventions as well as Comic-Con. If we can get to those three actual shows this year, that should greatly expand my business. We'll have a Instagram page to go with that as well. That's just going to cover the artwork as well aspect of it to try and get some followers on that. I'll address it through here. If I lose money, you'll know if I lost money. I'm going to be, straight on what we're doing with that. So you'll hear updates on that as well, too. That is my biggest goal for this year, is to advance that. Again, if you can mold something that's 3.5 or 3 3/4 inch tall, have somebody print the cardboard, make your own bubbles for the mounts for the toys, you can produce a full-fledged store-quality toy in your house, out of your garage, by yourself, without having a company make it for you. This is something that's now feasible in your hands to do. 10 years ago, I would have never, ever in my wildest dreams thought about doing any of this. We started, if you don't know, we started off with postcards with our thought, we did artwork and postcards years ago. Didn't make a ton of money except one-offs. The one-offs I sold for $100 or so a pop. This year we've made, off of just one single postcard, well over $1,000 on quite a few actually, but we're printing second runs of some postcards now. So If that can work, the toys are just as accessible to work. I've got a good toy company that's going to be helping us. I've got two more literally sitting in the wings to bring on board. With that in mind, we're also going to be switching up our model a little bit. We're going to break off some items we were doing long tail and not make them long tail anymore. I'll go into some details on this so you can see our progress, but I need to divert time and energy to doing some more model-ish and stuff like that. Again, our bread and butter is cards and postcards and things, so that's full steam. There's going to be people that are always going to be doing that. That's part of the reason I'm bringing in. His name's going to be his name's Evan. He's actually a brother of somebody else who works here. So, we're going to be bringing in somebody else to. It's going to help, so I can divert like Ian or somebody else to just do some of these things. I've got some animation goals for some of this. We've got a Kickstarter that's going to be going out real shortly here for the Trilobites. So if we drum up some success with that, we'll be able to do so much more stuff with it. We're going to, as I said, divert some labor and things into other avenues. So we're going to be splitting this up a little bit differently here. So I'm probably going to bulk sell some things, maybe sheet music, maybe some of the books will be dumped off in bulk. Clothing-wise, I'm probably just going to put up most of my clothing at $9.99 as an auction, which I know I don't do very much, but I get 1,000 free in 2 different stores, so I'll probably just do it that way and try and just blow it out at this point. Clear up some space, clear up some time. That's my goals right now, is to streamline my business here in the areas that aren't as profitable. Again, we make money off of every category we sell in. Some categories we're making a ton of profit. Paper items, 80% profit across the board. Clothing wise, we don't make as much profit. They don't sell as quickly. I would have to sell this, cross list all of my clothing on 3 or 4 different sites to get the same sales I was off of clothing when we first started 6 years ago full time. So I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to invest the extra time. I'm going to blow it out like I've talked about. We've still got 100 pieces I haven't listed. Those will probably just go up. Somebody might get a good deal and something they can resell. At this point, my goal is to, advance it the best way I can, and the best way is to get items I don't have to source. I'm cutting out the middleman. I'm going to show you a video with one of my sons, my oldest son, who does these flashlights. He's got a provisional utility patent that we're going to be working on for him for that as well, too. And I'm just going to show you some other venues here. There's just so many things. Here's the question I'm going to put to every one of you. Are you an eBay seller or are you an entrepreneur? If you're an entrepreneur, you want to do more than just eBay. You want to do a bunch of stuff. eBay isn't going to get you to the end all of everything. It's going to get less and less practical to keep all of your business on eBay as the time goes by. So are you an entrepreneur or are you just an eBay seller? I am an entrepreneur. I am not just an eBay seller. More so now than ever, because I look at my numbers. I look at how much money we've made from printed postcards, just simpleton stuff that I did one piece of artwork for a couple hours, and I get residual income from that every single week of the year. For 2 years now, I have sold my postcards. Every single week they sell. That's just one example of something that I thought would never happen in my life. We've made thousands of dollars on printed copies of my own artwork, which was a shocker. The toys are the same thing. So I know that's kind of going along about goal-wise, but that's my biggest goals right now. Again, DBA and S Corp is my goal before the end of the year, is to be able to file as an S Corp and have myself as an employee for my own company. That way I can take home more and separate my business more officially, so if something happens, they can't sue me personally. They could, sue a business or something. It separates liability for some aspects of it. Hopefully that gives you an idea on that. Is that the tortoise walking around?
I think so.
We've got a turtle over here crawling all over the place. Let's see here. Where was I? Yeah, we started with our own stuff too, Junk and Data Girl. Let me go down and get some questions here. Yeah, Valentine's cards sell, but again, as I said, there's a limited number. 10% of the Valentine cards you get are going to be worth selling on their own. The rest are going to be bulk lots. That's just what I can say. Listing will cure most of your problems. That is a sure fact. Most of the people I've talked to who had issues have a huge backstock, or if they want to call it a dead pile, it's a backstock to me, of stuff they just haven't listed. Or they only have, 1,000 items up, or 500 items up, or 400 items up, and wondering why they're not making thousands during Christmas. Now, there's some people who can run and only have a handful of things up and make a ton of money, but for the most part, most people can't do that without drop shipping or retail arbitrage or having some big niche that only they know about. So, anyway. Let's see, Jerry Rainier. I had a return. It began officially on the 30th and just resolved it. 4 years of business and 2 returns. Let me see here. Yeah, it's going to happen. I don't worry about stuff like that. I just move on. If the item gets returned, I relist it and I move on, and I don't worry about it again either. Lisa Magical Finds SNC. Yeah, I'm totally gone from clothing pretty much. We're just trying to blow out what we've got. I've got money invested into some nice pieces. There's some good stuff there. It should get me a good return on my investment, so I'm not going to just dump it, but we're going to put it up cheap. For slides, I actually have 2 slide tables that I actually got while I was picking. I've showed them in one of my videos. So you can literally get one. You can make one as well. My lights for my light table I made, and that's actually in a video as well, too, that I have. G.I. Joes are very good. Yes, that is a good plus. I still sell G.I. Joes. Junk drawers I always mix up. All kinds of different items. You want items that it's not just going to show, or not just going to be interested to one specific person. You want like half of it like different kinds of metal, and then half of it paper and things along that line. I always mix it up. Always, always, always. The more the merrier. The more different items, the better, from my personal opinion. OMFUG. I don't know exactly. My lot was all military, very popular with Europeans. Ships to the U.S. only. Yeah, you got to watch out for that. I have business policies set up for my shipping. So if you don't have business policies, set yourself up business policies, and you can do specifically one policy that shows both ways. One that shows U.S. and one that shows U.S. and outside of the country. I have like 10 or so business policies. If someone's interested in knowing what to set them up, how to set them up, you can put some comments down below, and maybe I'll throw that in a video if I get enough people interested. There's a rhyme and reason to that. The policies, though, work great for what we do. Yeah, that's why I said if you're listing a lot, you got to make sure you're listing it for what you feel comfortable at least to sell it as, to make a little profit. I never leave anything to chance. If you're afraid to sell it at a certain price, don't list it at that price. There's just no way around it. I never list it below what I at least, the minimum, the bare minimum that I have to have out of it. And if it doesn't sell right away, oh well, I'll mix it up with some other items, break that junk drawer lot apart, and make a different junk drawer lot with different items in it. It's all about the keywords that you're using in the title or lack thereof, and your main pictures for that. The pictures can sell those quickly. Well, good, Annie. Thank you. Annie's been a big help to me, actually. She actually has been helping with Facebook. I owe Annie a big round of thank you, of course. Annie is moving to Etsy. Yes, I have been on Etsy for a while. I haven't shared that. I've been debating on sharing some of the Etsy. I may do that soon, though. I did touch on the inventory. Everything that I do for inventory is an Excel spreadsheet. I use Word for everything, or Microsoft Office. And Annie already called that out. Yep, thank you, Annie. Excel for everything. I grew up on Excel. I do Excel for inventory. I did it for a multi-million-dollar region. I handled a region, and our region did 11.3 million one year. I used Excel to track every dime of that. It works perfectly as long as you... I'm an old school, so I've used it for a long time. A lot of people think it's arduous and hard to learn, but, if you've had it around in your life for a while, it's not a big deal. I love Excel. I love Word. I love all the interaction and abilities you can to transfer information from Access to Excel to Word, Outlook, wherever you want. It's all interchangeable. PowerPoint's the bomb. I do some videos you'll see that are literally screenshots of a live PowerPoint. I know there's other ones that can use, but I like PowerPoint. I love the animation you can do and all the other aspects you can do with PowerPoint. At least my personal benefit and preference, of course. Sean John, vacuum stuff. Vacuum formed. We got 2 vacuum form tables coming in. Basically, it's one box. If you're not familiar with vacuum forming, type in vacuum table, vacuum forming, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. I've got a double vacuum box going to be coming in that allows me to do 2 different sizes. With the vacuum forming, we're going to be making the clear bubble that actually mounts the action figure to a rack card. So when you go to Walmart or a toy store and you see all the action figures hanging up on a shelf, we will be producing the bubble here instead of outsourcing that. It'll be a lot cheaper. It'll cut my costs down on doing that, to 1/10 of what it would cost for me to pay somebody to do it. I can, do a one shot here. If the first one doesn't work, I can alter it to fix it, and I can do everything here in-house. So that's the first thing we're doing with a vacuum table. And then we're going to be addressing doing miniatures, things that you can sell to make money with a very bare bone minimum investment into your items and stuff. So I've done some models. I've shown some miniatures. We've done some dioramas. We're going to be doing some more dioramas, something that I can mass produce, where I can make a mold and mass produce it. That's your best bet. Making something that you can make many of and being able to sell multiples with one listing. One listing, your cost is down just in listing alone. So you can do it as a bulk listing of 10, 20 of the same items. So let's see here. CPA is key, so it's good you got one there. The truth. Welcome, Stephen. Yeah, Easter items are out. You should be working on Valentine's Day at this point. We've sold a bunch of it, actually. I was kind of surprised at how much Valentine's Day I've been selling. The Junk and Data Girl. As of right now, I won't be doing a secondary channel. I will probably just put some videos up in here. I thought about doing another one just on art, but I don't want to take away from the aspect. This channel is about ways that you can make money online. It's not specifically for anything, because we make money on all kinds of stuff. You see all kinds of crazy stuff on our store. I do other things that that I don't show on here too. So I'm probably going to be showing you some of that on here. If it's where a bunch of people aren't interested in seeing it, I may switch it up and do a separate channel. But as of right now, I haven't planned on that. It's time to start another channel and get enough subscribers to make it worth the while. And everything I'm going to be showing is still something you can personally do to make money on eBay. So, and that's the end result is here. So many people are saying they can't find some of these items or not. Make your own item. There's just so many things out there that somebody can do to make money on eBay. I'm shocked every day I find something new. Of bolo coming out this weekend. I'm telling you, it's going to be some crazy item that no one's going to believe will sell for that, but the comps are going to be proof that these things sell. So I'm not going to call it out again, but it's going to be something really interesting here that, it's going to take some people, by surprise a little bit. You need to do a live vid from the shows. Yeah, I'm not going to personally be going to the shows. Part of the reason we're getting somebody who is in the toy industry is because it'll cut down my costs, my investment. If I have a Tenacious Toys, Benjamin or somebody taking a toy of mine to a show, he's getting a fee out of that. And if it goes big, he gets a bigger fee out of it. So, he's going to be taking my toys, or another toy company will be taking our stuff to these shows. It's like $3,000 to set up and pay to be at one of these shows. So I personally can't risk that kind of money into something like this. So if I can get a toy company that'll put it on their site and take it there for me, I'm cutting out that extra expense. He's already there. He's got an opportunity to show something completely different that's not on the market. And if it is a big hit, he's going to be happy with what his results are from it too. So, he was ecstatic. He wants everything that we're going to be doing. He seems like, along the lines of us. I've shared the video of the Tenacious Toys from the Adam Savage's Tested channel on my Facebook group, so you can see what I'm talking about and see that. He does do some live feed, so there might be some chance in working something out with him. So we'll go from there and just see how it goes, you know. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not going to actually go to New York. Nothing wrong with New York, but again, it's going to have somebody else do it for me. Asher, I do retail arbitrage. I just talked about that in the beginning of the video. This year we did a lot in Lego Elves. Retail arbitrage we do drop shipping, but for the most part we're just straight sellers. I don't do a lot of outside stuff like that too much, usually just seasonal. Let's see here. John Jones, I plan on going back to making things electronics. Yeah, selling, you know, surplus is not great. It's hit or miss. Selling like Walmart returns or Amazon returns, it's not worth the time or effort from what I've personally seen. I've watched enough videos on people breaking down a pallet. It's a lot of work for, you know, a little bit of return for the most part. You know, there are some times that you can get like a bulk lot, bulk.com or something, and do something good, but I'm not willing to do all that. Lisa, do slides of famous artwork sell? For the most part, no. Right off the bat, I can tell you. Carl, $2,550, not bad. It depends on how much you have up, you know, obviously. You're welcome, a perfect buy. Yeah, we do pretty much any site we can get some money on. I don't expand too much right this very second. Again, just because we're on 9 sites in the toy industry, the toy business is something new for us. My feet are totally wet in the art industry and selling my own stuff because, again, we've been doing art postcards now for 2 years. In all honesty, very successfully. I've got a separate spreadsheet that breaks down just those, and every time I pop a new one on there, I'm getting a, you know, all-time record total from that sheet. So, you know, there's no stopping us in that kind of stuff, you know. And if I fail on making toys, I've lost some money. You know, that's the worst case scenario. You're never gonna know unless you try. I'm throwing everything I got out at this. So, you know, I've doubled up on everything. We just wanted to originally do all long tail, but as I said, we're switching up our store. I change stuff all the time. Different philosophies come into play. You know, you want your business steering in a different direction. You know, I explore every aspect of it. I'm not stubborn. I'm not going to be stuck in the same routine if I can find something better for me. So again, we've got these goals. I've expressed them earlier in the video, and we're going to go with that, you know, and that's what we're working on now. Yeah, data is always good for me. Yeah, junk and data girl. Wendy, trying to learn Excel, frustrating for me. Most of the time with Excel, it's the formulas or formatting a cell. I actually go a bit over in, I think it says projections. So if you go through my videos, type in projections. I do believe I actually explain how to set those sheets up in that video. So if you want to know a little more Excel, I'm old school Excel. I set up my own sheets for everything. I color code them. I block them off. I do everything for Excel. I actually have copies of most of my Excel sheets in my Patreon page right this minute. And for those of you who aren't aware, the ending for this video, watch it to the end. I'm going to be doing a specific ending for every video from now on. It's going to call out all my Patreons, as well as some other stuff too we're going to be adding into it. So again, watch it to the very end. Different outro. There's even different music to the ending of the video you'll hear later in just a few minutes. Thank you, Annie, of course. Annie is extremely knowledgeable. She's more so in some of the art aspect on vintage printing and stuff than I am. Anyway. Yeah, Etsy's pretty good. I haven't had any problems on Etsy. There has been some technical issues. Well, thank you, Junk and Data Girl. Again, no one's required to do anything for me or specifically. Money that I collect from Patreon does go right back into what I do. I do not make a profit at this point off of anything I do on YouTube or on the Patreon group. You know, whatever the dollar amount is, it costs money to do this. I've got 12 hours just in paying somebody for running the live feed, literally. And that's just for that, not counting editing and all the other stuff that we do. What are your policies? Please have in video. I will probably get on that. If we can put some notes down below, too, once the video is up, I can get a general census on it. Do I have any recommendations, tips on researching new niches? Not necessarily. I'll just randomly type in something. One of our dogs is fussing over here. I'll just randomly type in a word sometimes and look at comps and just see what shows up. You never know until you look up. What about selling replica on Etsy? You gotta be very careful on that. Yeah, hit the like button. I always forget that, Duncan VR. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm terrible on calling out stuff like that, but if you're enjoying the video, you're getting anything out of this, please hit the like button for me. Back to the question here. Replicas are a touchy subject. For the most part, I don't sell replicas at all. If it's a replica of, say, a coin or a button that was printed from the same dies or something, I may still sell it. For the most part, I don't, though, because I don't want somebody else later on to rub off the replica mark and then try and sell it as the real thing. It dilutes the market in the areas that I sell in, just like, you know, counterfeit records or counterfeit shoes or shirts or whatever the case may be. So I don't really do that. I may recreate something and make it obviously different than something original, like I'll paint a comic book cover or something, and I sell stuff like that occasionally. But anyway. Well, thank you, Salman. Yeah, we will be doing it. The carded toys are coming out. Tenacious Toys is going to take those already, sight unseen. You know, I've already done some. If you haven't seen my Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I guess you could almost call it a maquette, but I do graphic things with those too, and I love that kind of stuff. So I've got Monster Clay, a big thing of Monster Clay coming in, so we're going to be doing some sculpting here. I'll probably throw that together in a video as well, just because I do get comments on that. It's things that people can do. I know people that make fishing lures, or fly fishing lures and things like that. Anything you can think of that can make you some money. There's people that actually repack specialty bullets and make a living off of doing stuff like that. Nothing is off the table. I will make some available, Carl, so they will be out. Let me pop on down here. Let's get a few more questions. We're almost going to be cutting it off here in just a couple minutes. Ian has school in the morning. John Carlson, I have a video actually literally going into breaking down store costs and when it's practical and how to figure it out. I believe if you literally put in store cost or store comparison in a search in my video list, you will find that video. It's from last month, I believe. But I literally break down a ton of stuff on literally the costs of any individual store. I explain how we save $2,500 a year by having 2 anchor stores. Watch that video. I do it very specifically. I've got a breakdown. I think that's an Excel or a PowerPoint as well, but it breaks down all the costs. It shows you the benefits of going to a anchor store and the whole works. So that would be your best bet to watch it. I do it from the simpleton level all the way up. I do a complete breakdown and comparisons from all the 5 major store levels as well. Yeah, Pet Rocks is a good example. Ship and Sunshine. Pet Rocks made a ton of money. Look at Chia Pets. Chia Heads. They're still around. It's just such a simpleton. It's almost a stupid idea, but not. I mean, I've bought one years ago. There's other uses for the chia. You can actually eat those seeds, believe it or not. So, completely safe. We're going to have to cut it quits here. We're just about to the mark here. Please pay attention to the end if you're interested. I've got a new ending on here. I may mix up and start a new ending for a new intro. It'll be the same animation, but I may switch up the music here. But we're going to play off to a new outro from now on. Again, excuse me. But we're going to play off I'm going to give credits out from now on for all my videos. So if you're on the Patreon group, you'll see your name emblazoned at the end of every video that you are supporting me with. For every video from this point on, I'm going to try and do some other things. Again, we're going to be investing some more, so there is going to be more stuff. When the New York Toy Show comes up, I will try and get Benjamin to supply me some video. Hopefully, maybe we can do a dual broadcast on his channel as well as mine. I know that's possible. I personally haven't done it, but I appreciate everybody being on tonight. Hopefully everybody had a good show. Hopefully you had a good quarter last quarter. And if you didn't, you need to start working on next year right now, or Christmas, coming up Christmas. I know it's a long ways away. You got to be ready for it. But that's it for tonight. Thanks everybody for being on. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. And Ian is going to play us out on my new outro for my live show.